So we need to talk about common misconception that really stops people from getting the help that they need and getting like either it being a birth chart reading or a blueprint, channeling reading. But I wanted to talk about misconceptions that I hear about often. And I have my notes here because hello, I don't want to digress and make this longer than it has to be. So first of all, let's just do this as like a ratchet. Perfect. So the first thing, okay, so the thing is so many people feel stuck. I feel like this is just crazy. This is also the main reason why, I get so motivated to do these content and release them out there because yes, of course, there's always going to be a degree of uncertainty and challenges in life because hello, that's what makes the game fun. However, we do have so many more support than we actually realize. So, what I wanted to talk about is those things that I keep hearing that are really persistent. And they're like, I like to call them false beliefs because, and often it's things like hesitation, self doubt, or thinking that, your situation is too bad. It's the worst thing ever. No one can understand. And I'm here to tell you, like, I do have so much compassion for you. I know that like some of us go through like a really hard, not all of us have the same level of challenges in life, but I promise you that what you're going through, you're not the only person in the world going through that. And the goal is not to really, make you feel bad and make you feel like you like reject. The goal is to actually help you get unstuck. So let's talk about the big misconception that I hear all the time is the first one is I need to be more spiritual. Like, oh, Stephanie, wait a minute, I need to be spiritual first. And nope, you don't necessarily have to be. Like, the thing is, spirituality is something that is so personal. I always wonder and ask people, what do they mean? Often I find out what they mean is religious because religious is what tends to be a bit more like drastic. Like it has an image and there's certain things you need to do. It's almost like military style. Spirituality is actually not like that at all. Spirituality is your personal interaction with the divine. And spirituality looks different to everyone. I feel like most people are spiritual to some level, even if you don't have a practice. For example, what I notice is if you're in a very terrible situation, you worry about something, you have a health scare, most of us will by default we would actually default to like a higher spirit and a higher energy and being like praying, even if you don't really aware, even if you're not aware that you're doing it, kind of like praying for relief, for health and stuff like that. So I feel like we're all kind of spiritual in our own way. And but it doesn't really you don't need to be like spiritual or anything like that. It's just the work meets you wherever you are ready to be met at. That's the beautiful thing about this. It's wherever you are, it will meet you. It will never give you more information that you're ready to, that are unable to accept. So the message that will be delivered to you is whatever your vessel at this current moment can handle. It is what it is. And also another thing that I often hear is I won't understand it. Like this is like I feel like this is where there is no reason why you wouldn't be able to understand, especially like of course there are different professionals out there that speak differently, but when you book with me, I make it my point not to get anyone confused with any fancy lingo. We're using layman's term. The same way I'm talking to you right now. You won't hear me talk about 5D, 8D, 9D, 12D humans. You're not gonna hear me talk about any of those fancy terms or fancy like woo woo, new age stuff that'll use to kind of like impress you. We keep things really, really grounded around here. And another thing I hear is, what if I don't hear what I want? Well, this is a possibility. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is why this work is not for like everyone. It's really for people that are willing to. It's not about giving you horse truth or sugarcoating. It's really the work that when you really have done a lot of things and then you just ready to have some real change in your life and you're ready to do the work and you're ready to face some hard truth, that's when, you're really ready to make actual real change in your life, this is when this is the most helpful thing ever. And another thing I hear is, I'm afraid it will tell me I'm on the wrong path. Well, that's a possibility. But the good thing is that it doesn't really shame you. It just shows you how you out of alignment. And there's always, it kindly guides you way to, like, live a life that is more aligned to what your soul chose for this reincarnation. Because this is the beauty about your blueprint, your own personal birth chart reading. It's literally the map that your soul chose to come here. It's the GPS of your map. So it's like when you're driving and you turn on the GPS, right? The GPS doesn't start shaming you, tell you you lost. No, GPS will tell you, oh, well, that street that you on is not the ideal. It's not the most optimized street. Make a right, make a left so you can, drive on your most optimal street so you can get to your destination. That's what the that's what you have to kind of like, how you have to come in, walk in, think about it. Not like, no one is shaming nobody here. That's not the goal. And also another thing I hear is, I don't believe in past lives or energy stuff. Well, I mean, this is where we don't have to get lost in dogma. We don't have to get lost in, but I also believe that, again, when you're not ready for something, it's fine, you're not ready. But at the same time, the whole not believing in past life, I understand it takes people a lot of time to get there, but the whole not believing in energy thing is is more like you not ready, because whether you believe or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, these things exist. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. It's the same thing saying, I don't believe in I don't believe in gravity. Well, someone can go around and say they don't believe in gravity, but gravity still applies to them. Gravity still exists. And it's the same way as back then when some people didn't believe that the earth was round. People would believe like the earth was flat. They would take a boat and keep driving to the horizon. No one fell off, no cliff, because the earth isn't flat. So this is the same. This is how I see it. It's more like, I'm not saying like we know all the truth, but some things, like, we don't know anything. We don't fully understand how the spiritual, realm works. You do have a lot of wisdom that kind of help you really understand better, like things like Kabbalah and stuff like that, and old wisdom like that kind of like reveal more secrets. But to say that you don't believe in energy, it's like, again, you're not there and ready for it to work, and that's okay. I'm not gonna lie to you, and that energy is not a thing, because that would be like, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at night by saying that. To me, it's the same thing. Like I said, gravity exists in this dimension. Some rules exist, like the daytime, nighttime. Gravity, the light, light, sound. Even if we can see these things without eyes, the speed of light, we can see like sound. We can see these things. We can measure them. Sometimes we can, but like, they do exist. Not everything. It's not because you can see something with your five senses that it means that it doesn't exist. Um, I'm nervous about what will be revealed. That's totally normal again, but I think, like, because it's such a safe container, like, you don't really have to worry about that. But it will help you. But it's not just in a bad way. It's often like what I hear from my clients. It changes their life on a positive note. So that's one thing to keep in mind. What if nothing happens? I really find it hard to believe that nothing happens, because, again, you will receive detailed and actionable step for where you are right now in your life. And sometimes there could be delays. Sometimes you get a reading and things don't really register until much later, and then they start to click. But I don't think I've ever seen a situation where a client didn't walk out with like something out of it. So all I want to say is, misconception really keep people stuck. If you feel like you're stuck in your life, definitely this is like, keep an open mind, and it might be time for you to book a reading. On that note, check out my next video so you can dive deeper into the topic, and I'll see you there.